The shuttle's engines hummed their final note. As Kai Rivers stepped onto the pristine landing pad of Virelia, the air here tasted of exotic flowers and something indefinably alien, sweet yet electric. As Earth's youngest cultural attaché, he'd been chosen for this mission precisely because of his adaptability and charm. What he hadn't expected was how breathtakingly beautiful this world would be. Welcome to Virelia, human Kai. The voice was melodic, carrying an accent that made his name sound like poetry. Two figures approached from the crystal spires beyond the landing pad, and Kai's breath caught in his throat. They were sisters. That much was obvious from their identical pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Both had clouds of pink curly hair that moved like silk in the gentle breeze, and their eyes held depths that spoke of ancient wisdom. They wore flowing robes that accentuated their graceful, humanoid forms, 2 arms, 2 legs, but with an ethereal quality that made them seem almost too perfect to be real. "I am Serafina," the first sister said, her voice soft and measured. She carried herself with scholarly dignity, her pink curls neatly arranged. "This is my sister, Valora." Valora stepped forward with predatory grace, her pink hair wild and untamed. Her eyes blazed with an inner fire that made Kai's heart race. "So you're the human who's come to build bridges between our worlds," she said, her voice husky with barely contained energy. "I can see why they chose you. The honor is mine," Kai replied, trying to maintain diplomatic composure while his pulse quickened under Valora's intense gaze. "I hope to learn as much about your culture as possible." "Oh, you will," Valora purred, moving closer. "Our people value intimate understanding." Serafina shot her sister a warning look. "What Valora means is that we believe in experiential learning. We've prepared quarters for you in the palace." As they walked through gardens filled with luminescent flowers, Kai found himself drawn repeatedly to Valora's passionate energy. She spoke of their world with fire in her voice, describing ancient traditions and modern achievements with equal fervor. When she accidentally brushed against his arm, the contact sent electricity through his entire body. That night, alone in his luxurious quarters, Kai was startled by a soft knock. Valora stood in his doorway, her pale blue skin glowing in the moonlight, her pink curls cascading over her shoulders. "I wanted to welcome you properly," she whispered, stepping into his room. "In our culture, we believe understanding comes through connection." What followed was a night of passion unlike anything Kai had ever experienced. Valora's touch was electric, her kiss tasting of starlight and promises. As they made love under Virelia's twin moons, Kai felt something profound happening, a bonding that seemed to go deeper than physical pleasure. He had no idea he'd just committed himself to her for life. Kai woke to the sound of urgent voices in the corridor. 3 days had passed since his night with Valora, and he'd been walking on clouds, stealing glances at her during diplomatic meetings. The way she smiled at him across the council chambers made his heart race with memories of her touch. "Kai Rivers, we must speak." Serafina's voice carried an unusual tension as she entered his quarters. Without her usual gentle knock, her scholarly composure was cracked, revealing worry beneath. "Of course," Kai said, noting how her pale blue skin seemed paler than usual. "Is everything all right?" "That depends entirely on how you define all right." Serafina moved to the window, her pink curls catching the morning light. "Tell me, what do you know of Virelian mating customs?" Kai's stomach dropped. "Mating customs? I mean, Valora and I, you just what?" Serafina's eyes, usually so calm, now held a storm. "Shared a pleasant evening, a casual encounter." She turned to face him fully. "On Virelia, intimacy creates biological bonds when the beings join. In passion, their genetic patterns imprint upon each other. It's permanent, Kai, irreversible." The room spun around him. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying my sister is now bound to you for life. And more than that." Serafina's voice grew softer, almost pained. "She's carrying your child." Kai sank into a chair, his diplomatic training abandoning him completely. "Pregnant. But it's only been 3 days. Virelian biology works differently. The imprinting accelerates conception and development. Your child will be born in mere months, not years." Serafina's voice carried a note of something else now, longing, regret. "There's more you need to understand." More, Kai's voice cracked, the alliance between our worlds. It was to be sealed through union between you and the designated heir. Serafina's pale blue skin flushed deeper. That designated heir was me, not Valora. I am the elder sister, the one chosen for diplomatic marriage. The implications hit Kai like a physical blow. I mated with the wrong sister, yes. Serafina's voice was barely a whisper. And now the council is in chaos. Some call for your immediate removal from Virelia. Others demand that the alliance be dissolved entirely. What does Valora say? She defends you fiercely, says that love cannot be planned or forced, that the heart chooses its own path. Serafina's smile was sad but genuine. She truly cares for you, Kai. But caring cannot undo political reality. A soft knock interrupted them. Valora entered, her wild pink curls framing a face glowing with an inner light. That Kai now understood was maternal. She moved to him immediately, taking his hands in hers. You know, she said simply. I know. Kai searched her face, seeing new depths there. I'm sorry, Valora. I never meant to complicate things. You didn't complicate anything, she said fiercely. You gave me the greatest gift possible. Her hand moved to her still flat stomach. Our child will be the first of a new kind, human and Virelian combined. But the alliance will survive. Serafina interrupted quietly, if we're willing to embrace tradition and Anne. That evening, Serafina came to Kai's quarters alone. She'd changed from her formal robes into something softer, a flowing dress that made her pale blue skin seem to glow like starlight. Her pink curls were loose around her shoulders, and there was a vulnerability in her eyes that Kai had never seen before. We need to discuss the solution, she said, settling into the chair across from him with elegant grace. Solution. In our culture, when bloodlines are involved, especially royal bloodlines, balance must be maintained. Serafina's voice was steady, but Kai caught the slight tremor in her hands. If one sister carries the seed of an important mate, the other must as well. It's not just tradition, it's biological necessity. Kai stared at her. You're saying? I'm saying that for the alliance to survive, for our bloodline to remain balanced, I must also carry your child. She met his eyes directly. I must also bond with you as Valora has, Serafina. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. She stood, moving to the window. I am offering. Not out of duty alone, though duty is part of it, but because she turned back to him, her pale blue skin flushed. Because I've watched you these past days, seen how you treat my sister with respect and genuine care, seen how you've tried to understand our ways. Kai rose, drawn by the quiet strength in her voice. And I find myself envious of what she has with you. The admission seemed to cost her. I've spent my life preparing to be the perfect diplomatic wife, the ideal intellectual companion. But watching you two together, I realized I want more than duty. I want connection. She moved closer, her scent different from Valora's fire, more like cool moonlight and ancient wisdom filling his senses. I want to know what it feels like to be chosen, not just assigned. Serafina. Kai reached for her hand, finding it cool and soft. I don't want you to feel like you have to do this, don't you see? She stepped closer, her free hand touching his chest. This is the one time in my life when I can choose, when I can take what I want instead of what I'm given. Her eyes searched his face. The question is, could you want me to? The answer came from a place deeper than logic or diplomacy. Serafina was beautiful in a completely different way from her sister, where Valora was fire. Serafina was starlight. Where Valora was passion, Serafina was depth. As she stood before him, offering herself not just for duty, but for desire, Kai felt something stir in his chest. Yes, he whispered, I could. Their kiss was different from anything he'd shared with Valora. Where Valora's kisses were fire and demand, Serafina's was cool water and patient exploration. She led him to the bed with deliberate grace, her hands steady as she undressed him. In our culture, she whispered against his skin, the mind must connect before the body can truly join. She traced patterns on his chest that seemed to pulse with meaning. Tell me your thoughts. Kai Rivers, share your dreams. What followed was lovemaking unlike anything Kai had experienced. Serafina seduced his mind first, drawing out his deepest thoughts and fears, his hopes for the future. Only when their souls seemed to intertwine did she give herself to him completely. As they moved together under the alien stars, Kai felt the same profound bonding he'd experienced with Velora, but different. Where Velora had claimed his passion, Serafina claimed his mind and spirit. When it was over, they lay entwined, and Kai could feel the change in her immediately. The biological imprinting was working its magic. "It's done," she whispered, her hand on her stomach. "I can feel it already, our child." Kai pulled her closer, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what had just occurred. "What happens now?" "Now," she said, pressing a gentle kiss to his chest, "we figure out how to build a family that's never existed before." The next few weeks passed in a blur of adjustment and discovery. Kai found himself in the unprecedented position of being bonded to two sisters, both carrying his children. The Varelian Council, initially scandalized, gradually accepted the arrangement as a unique solution that actually strengthened the alliance. "It's fascinating," Serafina said one evening as they sat in the palace garden. Her pregnancy was beginning to show, a gentle curve that she caressed absently while reading diplomatic reports. "The biological data suggests our children will possess the best traits of both species." Velora, lounging on the grass with her head in Kai's lap, laughed. "Trust you to find the scientific angle romantic." Her own pregnancy was more advanced, her fiery nature apparently extending to how quickly she grew their child. "Everything is romantic if you look at it right," Kai said, stroking Velora's wild pink curls. The casual intimacy still amazed him. How naturally they'd all fallen into this rhythm. "Is it strange?" Serafina asked suddenly. "Loving us both." Kai considered the question seriously. Over the weeks, he'd discovered that his feelings for each sister were distinct, but equally profound. Velora sparked his passion, challenged him, made him feel alive in ways he'd never experienced. Serafina engaged his mind, soothed his spirit, made him feel understood at the deepest level. "Not strange," he said finally. "Different, but not wrong. The council keeps asking if we're planning a formal ceremony," Velora said. "Apparently having two wives is fine, but they want it properly documented. What do you think?" Kai asked. "I think," Serafina said, closing her reports and moving to sit beside them, "that we should celebrate what we've built. Not just for the council, but for us." That night, they made love together for the first time, all three of them. It was tender and overwhelming, a tangle of limbs and whispered endearments. Kai marveled at how different yet complementary the sisters were, how Velora's fire played against Serafina's cool depths. "I never imagined I could be this happy," he whispered as they lay intertwined afterward. "Neither did I," Serafina admitted. "I thought I'd have a marriage of convenience, children of duty. Instead you got a human who didn't know what he was doing." Kai finished wryly. "Instead we got love," Velora corrected. "Messy, complicated, beautiful love." The ceremony, when it came, was a blend of human and Virelian traditions. Kai wore robes that combined Earth's formal dignity with Virelia's flowing elegance. The sisters were radiant in complementary gowns, Velora in fiery reds and golds, Serafina in cool blues and silvers. "Do you, Kai Rivers of Earth, take both Velora and Serafina as your bonded mates, to share your life, your love, and your future?" the Virelian officiant asked. "I do," Kai said, meaning it with every fiber of his being. "And do you, daughters of Virelia, take this human as your shared mate, to build a bridge between worlds through your union?" "We do," they said in unison, their voices harmonizing. The celebration lasted 3 days. Representatives from Earth attended, initially shocked, but gradually accepting as they saw the genuine love between the three. The alliance was stronger than ever, built not just on political necessity, but on personal connection. As the festivities wound down, Kai found himself on the palace balcony with both wives, watching Virelia's twin moons rise over the gardens. "No regrets?" Serafina asked softly. Kai pulled them both close, feeling the movements of his children within their mothers. "None at all. This wasn't the life I planned, but it's the one I choose." "Good," Velora said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Because it's about to get much more complicated." "Why?" "Because," she said, grinning, "I just felt the baby kick, and I think it's going to be as stubborn as its father." The birth chambers of the Virelian Palace had never hosted such an unprecedented event. Kai paced nervously between two adjoining rooms, as both sisters had gone into labor within hours of each other's synchronicity that the Virelian healers claimed was a sign of powerful bonding. "Kai," Valora's voice rang out, strong despite her exhaustion. "Get in here and meet your daughter." He rushed into the first chamber to find Valora, radiant despite the ordeal, holding a tiny being that took his breath away. The baby had her mother's pale blue skin, but darker than Valora's, with the finest wisps of hair that seemed to shimmer between pink and brown. "She's perfect," he whispered, touching the baby's impossibly small hand. She gripped his finger with surprising strength, her eyes distinctly human in shape, but with an inner light that was purely Virelian. Focusing on his face, "What will you call her?" the healer asked. "Stella," Valora said immediately, for the starlight in her eyes. A commotion from the adjoining chamber drew their attention. Serafina's labor was progressing rapidly now. Kai kissed Valora's forehead and hurried to his other wife. Perfect timing, Serafina gasped, her usual composure abandoned in the intensity of childbirth. "I refuse to let my sister have all the glory." Hours later, Kai held his second child, a son this time, with Serafina's thoughtful eyes and skin that seemed to glow with inner wisdom. His hair was darker than his sister's, with subtle waves that hinted at his human heritage. "Orion," Serafina said softly, "hunter among the stars. 2 children, 2 worlds united," the head healer pronounced. "This is indeed a blessed union." In the weeks that followed, their unusual family found its rhythm. Kai marveled at how naturally they all fit together. Valora's passionate energy balancing Serafina's steady wisdom. The babies thriving under the attention of 2 mothers and a father who couldn't believe his fortune. "Earth's xenobiologists are beside themselves," Kai reported one evening, reading messages from home while Valora nursed Stella and Serafina held Orion. "They want to study everything about the children's development." "Let them wait," Valora said fiercely. "Our children aren't specimens, they're the future." Serafina added more diplomatically, "But they're also just babies who need their parents." The political ramifications were still unfolding. The successful hybrid births had sparked discussions about expanded colonization programs, cultural exchange initiatives, and the possibility of more interspecies unions. But for Kai, the politics mattered less than the moment. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if I'd approached you first that night?" he asked Serafina. She smiled, shifting Orion to her other arm. "Every day. But I've concluded that fate has a sense of humor. If you'd bonded with me first, I might have been too proper to suggest sharing you with Valora. And I," Valora added with a grin, "would have been too jealous to accept it." We needed to find our way to each other through chaos. That night, after the babies were settled in their nursery, the 3 adults retreated to their shared bed. The intimacy between them had evolved, becoming something deeper and more complex than simple passion. They made love with the tenderness of new parents, the passion of bonded mates, and the profound connection of 3 people who had chosen each other against all odds. "I love you both," Kai whispered afterward, his arms around both women. And, "We love you," they replied in unison, then laughed at their synchronicity. As Virelia's twin moons cast their light through the windows, Kai reflected on the journey that had brought them here. He'd come to this world as a simple diplomat, tasked with building bridges between species. Instead, he'd built something far more precious, a family that embodied the best of both worlds. In the nursery, Stella and Orion slept peacefully, their hybrid heritage visible in every breath. They were the future proof that love could transcend species, that understanding could bloom from the most unexpected mistakes, and that sometimes the wrong choice could lead to the perfect outcome. The stars above Virelia shone with promise, and Kai River's husband, father, and bridge between worlds had never been more grateful for the beautiful mistake that had changed everything.